You need to come with me. Immigration enforcement.
Immigration? This is the Nikanjo Lakota Nation. You're on sovereign tribal land.
Federal authority supersedes tribal jurisdiction. Let's go.
Federal authority requires a warrant signed by a federal judge to enter tribal land. Do you have
I don't need a warrant. You match the description.
Should federal agents be able to enter tribal administrative buildings without tribal permission? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because what 23 cameras captured over the next 15 minutes would document a federal agent's complete ignorance of tribal sovereignty and treaty law. Immigration. Joseph's voice carried the patient tone of someone explaining basic concepts to a child. This is the Nikanjo Lakota Nation. You're on sovereign tribal land. Tribal law governs here, not federal immigration law. Federal authority supersedes tribal jurisdiction, Pemberton said, and 3 cameras recorded his aggressive stance. You need to come with me for immigration processing. Joseph stood slowly, his 73-year-old body moving with the careful dignity of age. Camera 2 showed him at his full height, maybe 5'8", slight build, clearly elderly, obviously not a threat to anyone. Federal authority requires a warrant signed by a federal judge to enter tribal land and arrest tribal members. Do you have such a warrant? I don't need a warrant, Pemberton said, his voice rising. You matched the description of someone we're looking for. A description of what? Joseph asked, and the cameras captured his calm demeanor despite growing alarm. I'm 73 years old. I'm a tribal elder. I've lived on this reservation my entire life. I've never left South Dakota. What possible description could I match? Camera 4, positioned near the council chambers, showed other council members approaching. 3 men and 2 women, all Native American, all clearly concerned about what was happening in their tribal building. You matched the description of a suspect in an immigration case, Pemberton said, pulling out a folder. Native American male, 70s, named Joseph Two Feathers. That's my name, Joseph acknowledged, his voice steady. But there are probably a dozen Joseph Two Feathers on Lakota reservations across the Dakotas. Did your description include that this Joseph Two Feathers has lived on this specific reservation for 73 years? That he's a tribal council member? That he's never been outside the reservation except for trips to Rapid City? That's what we're going to verify, Pemberton said. ID and proof of citizenship. Now. The demand hung in the air, captured on 5 different cameras from 5 different angles. Joseph's response would be replayed in courtrooms, in congressional hearings, in law school classes about tribal sovereignty. Proof of citizenship? Joseph's voice carried both sadness and steel. I'm Lakota. This is Lakota land. We were here before there was a United States to be a citizen of. The Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868 recognized the Great Sioux Reservation as sovereign territory. The Indian Citizenship Act of 1924 imposed citizenship on us without our consent. And you're demanding I prove my right to exist on my own land? Do you believe indigenous people should have to prove citizenship on their own sovereign land? Comment your perspective, because Pemberton's response showed he had no understanding of the legal framework governing tribal sovereignty. That's not how this works, Pemberton said, his impatience evident on multiple recordings. You're in the United States. You need to prove you're legally here. Driver's license, birth certificate, tribal enrollment papers. Agent, another voice interrupted. A Lakota man in his 50s wearing a suit stepped forward. Camera 5 captured his approach. I'm Leonard Blackbird, tribal attorney. You're currently in the Nikanjo Lakota Tribal Administrative Building, on tribal trust land held in sovereignty. Under federal law, specifically the Indian Civil Rights Act and decades of Supreme Court rulings, you have no jurisdiction here without a warrant from a federal court or permission from tribal authorities. Do you have either? Pemberton turned to face this new challenger, and the camera showed his confidence wavering slightly. I'm conducting an immigration investigation. I have federal authority. You have federal authority on federal land? Leonard said, and cameras 6 and 7 captured the confrontation from different angles. This is not federal land. This is tribal land. Your badge doesn't give you authority here any more than it would give you authority in Canada or Mexico. You need a warrant. I have a warrant, Pemberton said, pulling a document from his folder. Leonard took it, examined it carefully. The cameras showed him reading, his expression shifting to something between disbelief and anger.